So today I want to discuss the split definition that people talk about. I'm talking about this from my own experience because I'm a generator and we are here to get to know ourselves, and so I'm just sharing my own experience, and I'm a 1-3, so I meant to just investigate, and then through my own experiment within human design, I'm able to share with others what works for me, what doesn't, in hopes that it might help other people. So I have a split definition, where there are different centers, no matter how many centers are connected, but it's like different. For instance, for me, I have my G center and my sacral center are connected, and your centers are connected because there will be one channel that connects them, or if you have like 3 or 4 different channels connected, then that'll be one circuit. And if you'll have a split definition, or I think there's like third split as like quadruple split or something, or triplet. But I only have a triple. I only have a split. So for me, my root center and my spleen center are defined, and they're connected by a channel. And then I have another circuit that's connected, my sacral obviously, to my G center. But it's a split definition, just explaining this, because though so I have like 4 centers that are defined, but 2 of them are connected, and then the 2 others are connected, but they're not connected to each other. Now, I wanted to bring this up because I haven't heard or seen anyone bring this up in regards to human design and their own experiment. A lot of people seem to talk about split definition is about, like, obviously your open centers is where if you're able to decondition successfully, that's where you get a lot of your gifts, or you can start seeing how a lot of your powers start coming through your open centers, because that's where people influence you and you're able to engage with the public. And that's why split definitions are kind of important, because the channels that aren't connected with, that would make it a full circuit or an individual circuit. Then if you find a certain person, right, for instance, like I said, my sacral and my G center are connected, and then there's a separate circuit of my root center and my spleen are connected. Now I do have a 42 channel or hanging gate, and on my root, that's on my sacral, and then on my root I have a 52 hanging channel. So if I find someone that has a defined sacral, or even if they have an undefined sacral, but they have that channel, then with my interaction with them, I'm able to then have one single circuit connecting my spleen, my root, my sacral, and my G center, because that other person then, through my open channel, my open gate, then they connect that. So if someone had a sacral hanging gate of 9, and then I engaged with them, or even if I was in the same space with them, because you don't even have to like speak with the person, but then that presence of that other person energetically, then it would connect my 52 hanging gate from my root, and since I have a defined sacral, then it would just create that like oneness. That split definitions are often often like looking for relationships that kind of provide that like wholenessness. So like if you have a split definition, it's said that you might feel like there's just like something missing. So you're constantly like looking for that something. In the shadow self, I feel like this is my own interpretation, but I feel like in the shadow, you might be like, if you're too focused on like meeting certain people to like fill out that open channel or that open gate or that open center, you might then just like be jumping from relationship to relationship trying to find that right person that like completes and gives you that oneness. And I just don't think that's what human design is all about. It's said that split definitions are meant to teach others about like relationships and how we connect, because it's about that hanging gates, like that open channels you have and those open centers you have is where people can come in. The shadow self is that they can influence you or they can condition you. So that's why it's important when you're getting into human design to decondition. But I just feel like the shadow self of human, when people get into human design, is they're like, oh, like, how do I find that person that like will connect this one channel for me? Because you don't know, that one person might like connect that one channel, but then they might have all these other circuits that might fuck you over, and the connection might just like not work out. But you're like, oh, like you get this like illusion of this oneness. And also it has to do with like, has that other person, are they authentically in human design, or are they trying to use the system to like yeah. But in my own so that's important to know where your openness is, especially in your centers, but I think also in your channels you can like complete your circuit, but it can also provide like, that's where you can get like connections with other people, or like if you feel there's certain people like give you like, oh, I finally found this wholeness. But then I think it when you're looking into that, the split definition, you're like, oh, I have to find that person that has this specific channel, because then it'll like connect my sacral to my root center, and I'll find this like, the circuit will be able to flow all together, and my defined centers will like, they'll have a flow with each other, and I won't feel like what that kind of feeds up on is codependency, because then you're looking outside of yourself, of someone else trying to feed what's inside you, and just like, oh, if I find that one thing, then it'll, and you're just like kind of derivating outside of what human design is meant for, which is to follow your strategy and authority. And it's not about like finding the person that has your open gate to create that flow in your centers, because that could literally be a lifetime. And even then, even if it took a lifetime and even more, then you could never find that person, because like even if there's a generator and a generator in a room and they both have a sacral, they might not, like, there's so many different facets to a human design reading or human design chart. So that's something to think about. But I'm here to share my own experience, because I haven't seen it be discussed in human design. I have not used human design to find the one relationship, because I'm just not interested in that. But for me, when the difficulty in human design when I first got into it was, I just like, everyone was telling me like, oh, you're a generator, so you have all this sacral energy within you, and it's already within you, and you're like, you're so lucky, I'm jealous. But the thing is, yeah, I have that energy, but then the difficulty was, and also people forget that just because generators have that sacral energy, if they're basically wasting that energy, that sacral energy, for things that don't light them up, then they get super burnt out, and kind of like their energy bunny, it's like then they don't have sacral energy for things that actually light them up, and then they're burnt out because they're using that energy to do things they don't like and have no interest in. So I think people just like don't really comprehend what a generator, the sacral energy and the sacral center and generators, because they think like, oh, it's just like constantly going and it doesn't need to be recharged. But if a generator is constantly using that energy to do for someone else, and that for that some, like if they're doing work like for a projector, if they're doing work for a manifester, and they're not lit up by what they do, they're not excited, then they're just wasting that energy. And it's just, you know, when a generator is just not happy with their work. But what I want to discuss is, because my difficulty with when I got into human design was that I couldn't feel my sacral, and everyone was, and even now I'm just getting into it, and there's this, because of the split definition, you don't feel, I mean, from my own experience, I don't feel my sacral, like, so it's just like a difficulty trying to figure out, like for me, because my sacral and my G center are, there's a 46 and 29 are connected. I have sometime when I first began, I noticed like I would feel it in my G center, and so I was like, well, I don't think it's in my sacral, but I feel it in my G center. Like I feel it up here. And then I was like, well, maybe that's because there was that channel. So it's like connected. But then there's sometimes I would feel like the spleen is also intuition. So, but it's also connected with like intuitive, like survival, and action orientated. So oftentimes for me, I've noticed to be very resilient in situations that kind of like fucked me over. And I think that's because of my root and my spleen are connected, so I'm able to kind of get through situations, that might, like like a lot of like just tower moments essentially, um and I'm able to just like, things just like come together, or I figure it out like at the last minute. I'll like get a job, um or just like things will just like come together at the last minute. So I think that's because of my root and my spleen are connected, so I'm able to like use that energy to like I don't really use my sacral. I think I use my root and my spleen when I need to like push through a job that I really, really hate, or push through a task that I really hate, but it needs to be done. So there's that root, like foundational, like survival, and like this is what we need to do. And then the sacral is, I think it's interesting that my sacral and my G center are connected, because I feel like that's a very like heart opening kind of connection. But for me, I just felt like I couldn't connect in my body, and I couldn't connect to my sacral energy. And it was actually super, super frustrating the year that I started experimenting with human design, because everyone was telling me, oh, you have this power within you and you just like need to connect with it, just like meditate. But with the split definition in your chart, you might just like, you might not feel, it also might not give you safety to be in your body if you have never connected, if like connecting to your sacral energy is very new to you, or even if you have trauma. So it's just like being in your body can be like really difficult, or just like not being able to like really focus on an energy because there's that split definition. So you're like, oh, I can't figure out if that's like my foundational, or if that's like my heart and like my creative energy are connected. So I think I haven't seen anyone talk about this, so that's why I'm bringing it up, because I feel it doesn't just have to do with like your openness with like connecting with other people that like where you are open in. I think it also can help you understand like where, how you connect with yourself and why you might not be able to connect, I mean, in my own experience, connect with your sacral as fast. I know like when I first started with human design, I have an open um ego heart center, as well as an open solar plexus. So there would be times where I was like, oh, I could feel it, or like people would be like, oh, you need to feel it, but it's like I have an open solar plexus, so it's like, why would I feel my sacral center? So I think that's the misconception and the difficulty with having a split definition, is because then you just like you want to like connect those circuits, those different circuits together, but you can't because you don't have that. You might have like hanging gates and those defined centers, so there's that like pull to meet your other circuits that aren't connected, but you're not able to. So there's like this frustration within your body. And so what that led, because everyone was like, oh, you have this energy within you, you like, it's like you can bring everything to you, you don't have to seek out, you don't have to initiate anymore, you don't have to seek out. And that's what led me to kind of just like take a break from human design for a year, because I was just like, oh my god, this is so frustrating. Like, why can't I do what people tell me I should be doing? And also, I'm realizing now I have an open head and open ajna. So it's like people are telling you like what you should experience in your body as a generator, but it's like in your realize like where you're open. For me, I'm open in my emotional centers, the like heart and the solar plexus, as well as like my throat, my ajna, and my head. So people would be, that's where the frustration came in as a generator, because people would be telling me like, oh, you should feel this, and this is how it is, and then like, oh, it's like a yes or a no, it's like a uh-huh, and I just didn't feel that. And I'm realizing now that I was feeling my sacral, because I would get responses, give responses like, I don't know, which is basically, now I'm realizing a no. And if you say like, oh, I have to think about it, that's a no, because then you're trying to use your head and getting away from in the body sacral energy that we're supposed to use to make decisions in human design. But yeah, in my own experience, having a split definition, I think it's like made it difficult for me to like connect with my own power. And even now, like I'm trying to get into it, but I think it's more beneficial to figure out how to connect within those separate circuits, um, than trying to find the person that has that one channel that you'll be able to create that flow in your system. And yeah, I hope, I don't know, I hope that helps someone. Or if you've had a difficulty as a split definition, I would love to hear what your experience has been regarding having a split definition. But for me, getting into human design, I definitely, I just like, I couldn't connect with my sacral, and it was frustrating me because people were telling me like, oh, it should be easy, it should be like, and some generators were like, oh yeah, it happened to me immediately, and I was just like, ugh, why can't I do this? And that's why I took a year off, because I was just like, people are telling me this, that, the open heart, this, that, oh, this is what you should experience, this is what, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, stop. And so now I'm just like going into human design with more my own individual way of experimenting within my own design and chart versus like, but yeah.